will have to fight down below. Brutal has to go for, and he doesn't have enough HP. Then he takes the shot, but it's not enough from the hold of Skulls to bring it away with Game 4Z. What's up, Fortnite fam? Caster Lash here, and I'm jumping on to answer a couple quick questions from my guy Nalvix and to show who truly is the real Caden Lasher. Now, as for the first question of how did I first get into casting, and it's actually an interesting story. And for those of you that know who Monster D-Face is, he is a massive reason of why that is. Because back in January of 2021, he was hosting what was called the Solo Spotlight, which in turn, at certain points, would have extra, or I should say, new casters or some experienced casters jump on with him and cast the gameplay of the solos that was going on. And during that time, I was like, ooh, I like this. So I jumped in, and I've always been that very commentary enthusiast, even when I was, since I can even realistically remember just watching traditional sports and be like, wow, I really love how that sounds. So that actually ties into the second question of the first tournament I had cast, because that technically was a little bit of a tournament, and it was an absolute blast, and I utmost give the greatest honor to Monster D-Face because hey, he is a massive reason of a lot of my improvements and big part of where I am today. Now, as for the third question of my favorite season to cast, I honestly have to go with every single season that I cast in Fortnite because I essentially attest my casting and skills to each time I get better, which is the most recent season after every single one. So it just gets that much more fun when I continuously get to work on my craft. Now, as far as the fourth question and what is my favorite tournament to cast that I've ever done, it's actually my second most recent tournament in the November Fortnite Collegiate Cup Solos, which was just an absolute impeccable round of gameplay from point A to point B because it was just immaculate because it came down to the final moments, and being able to build a story like that is the literal definition of why Fortnite competitive in and of itself alongside casting is just the beautiful combination. Now, as for the fifth question of my current state and thought process of the state of Fortnite competitive, and I honestly think it's in a really good spot, not exactly where it can be, with a little bit more adjustments towards the hammer and the Excalibur in Fortnite competitive, I do believe this could be one of our greatest seasons in Fortnite history. And I truly mean that because from the teams and plays that we're seeing so far throughout scrims and even throughout the first tournaments of the Dignitas tournament, it is looking absolutely incredible. And now, as that sixth question does kind of tie into that of my favorite loophole to cast, and honestly, I like the great immaculate plays where we have the shockwave hammers, where we have the impulse grenades. Now, granted, we don't necessarily have the exact shockwaves that we had before. I do believe that it comes into play absolutely just massively because you get to call that hype moment, you get to ramp it up, and you get to build that story even more based off of something that can just out of the blue happen and create one of the greatest moments of all time, which ties in to the next question of what is my favorite moment of Fortnite competitive history, and it has to be the Game 1 Victory Royale from Booga at the 2019 Fortnite World Cup. And I still remember Courage's exact words during that moment. Shockwave to height with no elimination yet for the first game Victory Royale. And then Booga hits the pump shot to bring home the game number 1 Victory Royale. And he pretty much, he did hold that lead the entire time throughout the World Cup. And that just is buried in my head as the honestly greatest moment of Fortnite competitive history. Close to the Kami and Seti moment back at the FNCS Invitational. Now, as for the final question, do I have any other career paths or just casting in line for the future? And honestly, casting / commentary is my main and one. It's the baby, the contour, the highest of the highs, because it is genuinely my passion and love for what I'm doing. It's my purpose of what I've definitely been called to be doing, because it has been the, I'd say, most heartwarming feeling when you get to improve upon something that you know that you can do at the highest to highest levels. And I do believe I can consistently keep inching that up even more. So, no plans of going otherwhere. Caster Lash is here to stay. And as we wrap up this interview, a huge shout out to Navix for bringing me on and asking these questions. And until next time, I'll see you out there on the battle bus.